What up, design champions? Welcome to Design Time episode 10. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. In today's project we have a real client with a real project, and I thought for the 10th episode that might be something a little bit more interesting and a little bit fun to do. So in today's project we're going to go through the entire logo design process. I'm going to give a few tips on designing a logo, as well as a few things that I like to do specifically when presenting a logo to a client. So let's get started, and along the way I'll give a little bit more information about the project. Okay, let's talk about the steps of the logo design process. First off, I need to speak with Paul, the founder of the startup, and try to get a design brief. The second step is to render all the information we've gotten from the design brief and sketch out and create some initial ideas. Now, on the second step, I don't like to spend a lot of time because I feel like the third step is really where things start kicking in. The third step is to bring those simple ideas into Illustrator or whatever design program you're using and really start to work with it and visualize it so you can see what changes need to be made. A lot of my logo design process, personally, I do digitally because I can see things, I can work with the colors, and I can change them as I'm making them. The fourth step is to send the logos to the client and get their feedback. Finally, the fifth step is to figure out what their feedback is and see what revisions you need to make to a logo, or to see if you need to come at the logo from a completely different direction. So let's get started with step one, getting a design brief. I had a quick Skype conversation with Paul to try to decipher what kind of logo he was looking for, and here are a few of the things that I got. Number one, they would like something that has somewhat of a cabin atmosphere. Number two, they would like to incorporate the color saffron orange. The company is being founded out of a university, Kennesaw State. This is one of the university colors, and Paul thought it would be a great idea to give a shout out to the university. I love that idea. It can be semi-detailed, but preferably something simple. And fourth, lastly, I have free range to create something that represents what the service it does itself, or I can create something that represents the company's name, Tree Cabin. So this is what we have to work with, and step one is complete. We have our brief. Let's get started on step number two. It's something like a Netflix for textbooks, because you pay a monthly subscription fee and then you can get all the textbooks that you need. So, that being said, it would be nice to incorporate, at the very least, a tree and a cabin, and if we can be super clever, then we could incorporate something to do with books or something digital books. We're just going to sketch out anything that comes to mind very quickly. This part of the process needs to be very fast, very fluid, because it's important just to get as many ideas as quickly as possible. And if you take too long, because this is the problem that I think I would run into, and probably a lot of people would run into, is if they take too long on this process. Let's say I have this idea and I really want to see how it looks. I could take 30 minutes to draw it out. I'll probably either be too tired or I'll be too in love with this idea at the end of it that I wouldn't have come up with several other ideas. And I think that is the most important part of this process, getting as many ideas as quickly as possible, even though they look like child scratches. Let's hop to step number three and get into Illustrator and see if we can't take it digital. Let's go.
This design is a piece of mind. Round these lines give me peace of mind. Cabin in the trees, got trees to climb. Two design routes you're pleased to find. Trees in the cabin or the cabin in the trees. Raspberry knees and my nose in a book. Please, can you tell me how the logo's gonna look? How the logo's gonna look. Super dope color, bring the whole thing together. Little thicker lines make the whole thing better. Stick around to find a forest and a shelter. Yeah, I combine two ideas together. Trees in the cabin or the cabin in the trees. Raspberry knees and my nose in the book. Please, can you tell me how the logo's gonna look? How the logo's gonna look. I don't know if it works, that's my only concern. Gonna have to find out, only way to learn. Give them two choices, see which one they like. Pick your poison, then get hyped. Trees in the cabin, or the cabin in the trees. Raspberry knees in my nose in a book. Please, can you tell me how the logo's gonna look? How the logo's gonna look.
Now on to step 4, which is displaying and sending the logo directions to the client. Now, how I like to do this is I like to put the logo and then maybe have 2 or 3 other ways that the logo can be displayed. I like to write maybe 1 or 2 sentences that I think describe the logo, or if there's something unique that you can't tell about the logo just by looking at it. Some people would argue, well, that's a bad logo design, but I don't know about that. So if I find it's important to write something, I'll write a sentence or 2, and then I also like to put like the color swatches somewhere, so I'll put a row of the colors that I used below the logo, and that's what I like to send the client as the initial kind of, hey, here's one option, and then I'll do the same for the second option. So the 5th step actually has kind of sub points, 5A, 5B, 5C, because this is the step where you review based on what your client, in this case Paul, and his team think about the logo. So I've sent him the logo, and now we'll just have to wait for feedback. That's where I'm going to end this logo design process. Just know that once I get feedback, I will be taking that feedback and maybe making other versions of the logo and sending it back to Paul and his team. And then if they have more feedback, we'll try to really find that good solution, a logo that everyone is super hyped and happy about. Okay, that's it for this logo design project. I hope you enjoyed watching the project and maybe you learned a thing or 2. Also, it would be super cool if we did a vote. Let's do a vote. Leave in the comments below which logo you prefer. Option 1, this flat tree. Option 2, this 3D looking, could be a book, could be a cabin. Yeah, so leave in the comments below which one you like more. That would be an interesting thing to do. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day, night, morning, wherever you are. I hope that it's fantastic. I'll see you later, alligator, and stay awesome, possum. Bye. For the briefcase, I want to kind of make it fantastical, maybe a little bit whimsical.